Hello everyone. If you follow my channel, you know I like wine, okay? Bit of a hobby of mine, as is many people I suspect. And the other day I came across a post from Yancis Robinson, and if I just show you here what it is. Yancis attended the Sustainable Wine Roundtable, and they've come up with this roundtable bottle weight accord, okay? Reading it through, it said it's looking to reduce the weight of a wine bottle from 550 grams down to 420. So, being a bit of a geek, I thought, okay, let's get under the skin of this. Let's see just what that means in real terms for sort of the carbon emissions and stuff like that. So, what I've done is I've got a number of bottles of wine that I've had recently. I've drunk all of these, I'm sorry to say. And I thought I'd give them away. And let's first thing to check is how well the 420 and 550 numbers stack up. So let's just have a look at some of the bottles that I've sort of got here. Let's give them a quick weigh and just see what they're actually like, okay? So, click, click, click. Let's have a look here. Here's my really complex sort of weight setup system. Let's just zero that. And let's start off with a Pomerol. So this Pomerol here is a 2016 Pomerol. I went down to this area last year, or early this year rather. Superb vineyard. So let's just move the microphone out of the way. Hope you can still hear me and weigh that. That is coming in at 617. So handheld camera. So sorry about that. So 617. That's a posh bottle of Pomerol. 617. Let's see how that stacks up. Next one, Chateau de Fontenay. Pardon my sort of pronunciation. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But Chateau de Fontenay. Let's see what that comes in at. 552. So that's much less to start with. Next one on the list, this is a Rioja. So obviously down in Spain. And this one here, 2018 Reserva, 408. My God, there's a big difference between that. I mean, one's 617, one's 408. What else have we got? German. So covering off all the bases here. This is German wine. And this is coming in at 423. What else have we got? A couple of zero alcohol wines. I didn't really like these, I've got to admit, not my cup of tea, but I thought I'd try them just to see what they were like. And then there's the Chardonnay. This is really oaky, so really oaky, but again, not my cup of tea. I didn't really quite like it. 370. Oh my God, that is just. You just have a quick look at the numbers here. You know, the 372. That's the Chard. That's the Pomerol there. Big difference between those, isn't it? So there you go. Huge difference. I wouldn't say it's half, but it's it's not a million miles away. And for completeness, I've got a bottle here of sparkling wine. This is an Asti. I'm rather partial to Asti, so I know I shouldn't be, but I love this stuff. It's really nice. So 644. Chill it down. Hot summer's day. Brilliant stuff. So 644. So what I'll do is I'll pop those into a spreadsheet and have a look at what the averages are for those bottles. Okay, so let's try and do that now. I've got a spreadsheet set up here. So let's have a look. So it's a Pomerol 617, 552. That was the Bordeaux 408, 423, 435. 372. So not a very scientific study, but do you know what it's going to do for our purposes? I think the average of those, let's do this, equals average of those, 467 grams. Okay, so the first thing to check is let's just see how that compares to. So we came up with, what was our number? 467, which is less than the Sustainable Wine Roundtable sort of estimate, but do you know what? They've probably got better data than I have. I mean, this is just a sample of 6, isn't it? And I've also ruled out the Asti, which is just, it's sparkling wine is pressurized, therefore you need a thicker bottle. It's as simple as that. So they're always a bit heavier. So let's go back to the spreadsheet here. So we've got 467 grams. It does match up, but it's not a huge correlation. And there was a big variation there. If you just look at that one there compared to that there, which is in sort of percentage terms, you know, it's 60% of the way, i.e. 40% lighter. So there's a big difference. But anyway, that notwithstanding, let's put some figures into the spreadsheet that I've set up here to just do some analysis on this. So first off, how many bottles were sold in the UK? So in the UK, I had a look at this sort of spreadsheet here. We have a total of 1.77 billion wine bottle sales. So let's go back in here. 1770 000 Okay, and let's just put that into a number format so we can see it. Just make sure we've got the right number of zeros. Okay, I want to take off sparkling wine because the bottles are heavier. And I went here and it says, you know, sparkling wine, about 140 million bottles. So let's pop that into the spreadsheet there. 140, 123, 123. So if you take off the, I don't know, probably some I've missed out, but if you take that from that, that should give you the number of bottles of normal still wine that we're talking about, okay? So we're talking about now trying to work out the difference between 550 grams, which I think is what Jancis was saying here, and 420. So let's go. So we want to do an analysis of the wine bottle, embodied wine bottle carbon of those two. And I'm also going to put paper in. There is some paper on it, a bit of tin, just see if that makes a difference. Okay. So what I did here is popped across to Anistic. This is just a demo account of mine. Let's go into data. And we're going to look at the product carbon calculator in here. So into supply chain. And we're going to get rid of that and go to products here, which allow us to set up a new bottle. So let's put wine bottle. B1, it's made that up, it doesn't really matter what that is. Let's have a look. So we've got our wine bottle. Let's see what we can figure out what the carbon content of that is. So we're going to go into glass. Let's do the glass first. I don't really know which type it was. It's not triple grain, toughened, single pane. So I'm going to put it down as sort of general glass down here. And the first one we did, this is in kilograms, so 0.550. So that's saying that it's 1.437 kilograms, etc., which gives us a total carbon for that component of 0.7904. So let's add in the paper. Down here. Yeah, let's call it fine paper. You know, I don't think there's a huge difference between these. And let's say that the paper label on the front and the back is going to add up to 10 grams like that. Okay, so it's not a lot actually, to be honest, it's tiny. And then let's do the tin wrap at the top. So metals, and we're going to go aluminium, I think it is these days actually. Aluminium produced in Europe, all those wines were, and that's about 15 grams, okay? So 0.015, units wrong there, 0.015 there. So this gives us an embedded carbon per unit of 0.8891. That's the old measure. So with that, oops, yeah, so that's just 0.8891, and the units there are, I'll just move these out the way. The units here are kilograms CO2 equivalent per bottle. All right. So now let's just go back in and look at what it is for 420 grams. We can do that very easily just by clicking on the glass element here and changing that down to 420 grams there, so 420. And that will then lower it, or it has lowered it down to 6 there. So it's lowered the whole bottle carbon emissions down to 7022, which I've put into the bottle here, 0.7022. Let's just make sure we can see that. There. So in terms of percentage, I'll just do it on here if I can. It's actually lowered the carbon content down by, well, it's lowered it down to 78.9, let's just make that, to 79%. So it's saved, so for instance, just saving, obviously it's 100% take away that, isn't it? So it's 21, so saving 21%. So, you know, it's saving 21% of carbon of a typical bottle of wine. This is embodied carbon, don't forget. So this is not the carbon associated with all the transport. It's not a full sort of life cycle carbon assessment. You know, it's just the actual embodied carbon in the bottle itself. You know, if you got a lighter bottle, you know, common sense tells us that we're going to have a cheaper shipping cost. So, you know, all of that's going on, but that's not included in sort of, you know, the figures that I've got here. Just for fun, let's then say that the total embodied carbon before this initiative was the number of bottles there, multiplied by the emissions per bottle, and after, I think I can just do this. So that is, yes, multiplying those two together. So that's the total number of bottles. So that's kg, to E total. And same here, that's down there. So it's moved from 1.4 billion kilograms. So let's just add in a couple of lines here. And let's actually just do exactly the same thing. So these are the same numbers. Okay, but let's put it in TCO2e. So equals, just divided by 1,000. So that's moved from kilograms to tons. So that's TCO2e total. And that there is that. And just want to look at materiality, you know, what difference does this make? Well, obviously it's a reduction. You know, the reduction percentage, because there's simple multiplication, will still be 21% on the actual wine bottles. But the total UK carbon footprint, I went into here and typed in what is total footprint of the UK. And the TCO2e is 417 tonnes. So if I just go back down here, put in 417 million tonnes there. So the embodied wine percentage, so what percentage of the wine bottles make up our total before, and let's put that in a percentage. So let's just leave it at two significant figures. So before, wine bottles made up 0.35% of the total UK emissions, and after, they made up, let's have a look, put it in percentage, 0.27. So that's a saving of 0.07% of the UK's carbon footprint. Okay, so do you know what? It's kind of back of envelope analysis. I mean, it's not going to stand up to the rigor of a full sort of, you know, university grade examination. But on the face of things, if the Sustainable Wine Roundtable here, these guys here, if they work out their bottle weight accord and it is a success and they get 100% adoption across the board, then probably number one, you're seeing a saving in the UK of just under 0.1% of the total carbon emissions, which is probably worthwhile. You know, it sounds tiny, but all these things add up. You know, obviously if 10 people did that or 100 sort of industries did that, then, you know, you see some significant savings. But, you know, 0.07% is what they're aiming at, a reduction of the UK's carbon footprint. It does not take into account recycling. It does not take into account shipping. You know, there's lots of things it doesn't take into account. But broadly speaking, with my little geeky head on, a saving of 21%, which is about 0.1% of the UK's carbon footprint. So I hope that was useful. If it was, you know, please consider subscribing or, you know, clicking the alert, all the usual things you do. And I'll see you next time.